but it's like yesterday's lesson was really, that's a great lesson when you sit with I am spirit and you use that kind of like a mantra. Our right mind is, but it's like yesterday's lesson was really, is that my voice? It's like weird. Okay, so here's what he says here. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. In my introductory comments to lesson 91, I said the next 20 lessons directly or indirectly contrasted the self with a capital S with little self, a lowercase. The past 7 have emphasized this distinction and urged us to choose spirit as our identity instead of the body. Now, I mean, what's so hard about that? Like, really, think about it. Like, why in the world would I even want to play in this dream anymore? It just keeps getting crazier anyway. So okay, so he says, today is a day of special dedication. As students work with A Course in Miracles, it is important they understand Jesus does not always reserve the world special for the ego. Students sometimes avoid the word as they would the plague because of its connotations of scarcity, guilt, and murder. And that is me. I mean, I avoided all of those concepts because I already felt like, ego wanted me to go back into repression at the time, and say, well, that you're not like that, and all this other stuff. And yes, we're all the same. And the trick is that our stories are different. But if you look deeper into it, everybody has the same ego and the same spirit, right? So he's saying students sometimes avoid the word as they would the plague because of its connotations, scarcity, guilt, and murder. However, there are many places where Jesus uses special in a positive way, by way of telling us that it is not the word itself that is terrible, but its underlying thought system. The content, not the form. Thus, today is special because of its place in the curriculum that will help us undo our belief in specialness and remember who we are as God's Son. We take a stand on but one side today. We side with truth and let illusions go. So truth is here right now. That's the only time that truth is ever present. If we are off to the races by the past and the future, we are right back in agony again, because you cannot change. It's like removing the chairs on the Titanic. It was going to go down no matter what. This world's going to happen no matter what. We cannot make this world personal because it's not. It's not a personal. It's this oneness that is waking up, and although we are still in God, we have visited outside a world believing that we are the characters and that it means something. And I'm teaching myself that it's meaningless. It's meaningless. And that as addicted as I've been to Sharon for so many years, I'm starting to just ask within, what am I doing that for? Because I'm a construct from the mind. I am completely a construct. I am not form. The form that I see is a thought system. And I'm playing her part, but I'm playing everyone else's too, because we all have just one ego, right? So, Marcy, do you want to say something?
Not yet.
Okay. He said, we take a stand, but one side today. We side with truth and let illusions go. He says, this is difficult because our choice for truth instead of illusion is a choice against ourself, our small s self. We therefore need a bridge to ease our fear. This bridge is our function of forgiveness, our part in God's plan for salvation. And I always change our part in God's plan for awakening because it means the same thing. It means the same thing. And it's not, it doesn't have that Christian flavor. Not that that's bad, but it's just more lofty, I think. We will not facilitate between the two, but take a firm position with the one. We dedicate ourselves to truth today and to salvation as God planned it to be. We will not argue it is something else. Right. So easily we could all like say what, you know, apparently on here, from what I see, there's what, 4. We're all pretty much on the same political side, and yet we have to get to a place, or I do, where none of that matters. None of that matters. Because we are listening to an insane mind. And as a course student, and also as someone who's very intense about human rights, it's an interesting thing to watch how the mind goes into anger and fear is what anger is. But all of that is for me. Why? Because it's undoing, because what's out there is nothing. It's the thoughts I'm thinking that I'm a victim, that I still want approval, that I don't feel safe here. And who knows what the other one is, because I keep forgetting. Do you? Lynn, do you know Rafi's three things that he says? Oh, let me see if she put it here.
Approval, safety, and
Acceptance?
and what, Marcy?
Is it acceptance?
Acceptance. Acceptance and approval, I think, are the same thing.
Okay.
So safety, correct. I want to be right. I want to be correct, or do I want to be approved of or accepted? So those are the 3 things: acceptance, acceptance, correct, being correct, and being I forget those. I always have other things that I think when he's saying them. So anyway, it doesn't really approval, acceptance are approval and acceptance are the same. So
Thank you.
I'm not sure how approval and oh, I sort of get it. Yeah.
yeah, I want you to accept me. I want you to approve of me, and I think yeah, it is the same thing.
Okay. I thought that's usually what he says as 3 things though. Approval, acceptance.
Control,
Oh,
approval, and
okay.
acceptance. Yeah,
That makes
safety.
sense.
Now he goes on. This is a very good. I mean, I don't know if Mark, if you want to share one of the other books, I have them too sitting here. But if you just want to listen, that's fine too. Just let me know. Okay. Okay. So, and Wendy. In other words, we will not argue that salvation is specialness. That is what we think it is, rather than accepting what it really is. It's undoing guilt through forgiveness. And this is the program, and this is why the course came to us, because, you know, Jesus makes it a point that we could stop now and just realize we're already there. But it's not common to do that, not even a little. So we will not facilitate between the two, but take a firm position with one. We dedicate ourselves to truth today and to salvation as God planned it. We will not argue it is something else. In other words, we will not argue that salvation is specialness. Now, I did believe that. I felt that salvation was awakening, and that's special. And that's seeing it from the small self. If you ever noticed, it's only the ego that ever wants to wake up. Now, the truth is that our spirit is also asleep. And what happens is it starts to wake up, and there's no time. So it happens at its own pace. So I have to bring myself back to one of the most important gifts of God, and that's patience. Patience. There's still enough ego running a program in me that I realize that pausing and patience are necessary. And the addiction that this mind has to this political scene. And why would that happen? Well, what is the ego's job? The ego's job is to keep us stuck here. So, of course, it's going to do everything it can. And all I need to do is realize that I'm not the ego, that I've always been the self with a capital S, that I truly am the observer. I'm observing everything here. And I'm playing a part in the plan. So, what is the plan? Well, the plan is that it's perfectly orchestrated and it's not personal. It's the one that's waking up, the one mind that's waking up. I listened to Keith, not the whole thing, but Marcy, if you have any takeaways from Keith, you can share them with us because he had a lot of good stuff in there. Like basically, I think he was saying everything here is love, no matter what it looks like, right? Did he say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just reading stuff that he had on yesterday, and I can't quote it, but I could either send it to Lynn or I can look for it while you're talking. But it's just funny to me how everything is planned so specifically that any lesson that I have or you have, and whether they're different or not, they're all the same, but they're specifically planned. And the purpose is healing the mind. So we each will have those different experiences,
Right.
and some seem sometimes more traumatic than others, or some seem like easier things to handle than others. It just cracks me up because it doesn't matter what the lesson is.
It's funny because I feel like at this point, I haven't been eating junk food, but I've been watching junk food. And if I stay unconscious and realize that I'm only hurting myself, junk food would be politics. To even watch it right now is very, very, it's that feeling like or and that is because the ego part of this mind wants everything to work out for everyone. But I'm going to go on and read about what he's saying about that because we know that that isn't true. It's not about this world out picture. It's inside. We will not seek for it where it is not. In gladness, we accept it as it is and take the part assigned to us by God. That part has nothing to do with behavior, nor with being God's holy messenger who speaks his words literally. The part assigned to us is forgiveness, an activity solely of the mind, since the dream leaves not its source. Well, that's so clear. Thus, salvation is in the mind and cannot be found where it is not, in the world or the body. How happy to be certain. In order for us to be happy, we must realize what we thought we were certain and about what, wait a minute, we must realize what we thought we were certain about was wrong. That's the hardest part. And this brings a memory back of Helen Hamilton writing a book. I was wrong about everything, something like that. And that is the most important thing for this mind now. Because to be wrong is to have everything. And to be right in this particular lesson is to have nothing. Because the ego is nothing. And the energy is totally different in the ego. So, do you prefer that you are right or happy? To be happy means to be truly certain, identifying with the certainty of the Holy Spirit, not the ego's arrogance in believing it is right. And that's truly like, I'm going to just go on a little bit more because I'm feeling to move to another thing, but we'll see. All doubts we lay aside today and take our stand with certainty of purpose and with thanks. What doubt is gone and surety has come, we have a mighty purpose to fulfill and have been given everything we need with which to reach the goal. Our mighty purpose is to forgive, and everything we need to reach the goal is the classroom of hate we made. Now that takes responsibility for us to really look at that. That's what's showing up in the world right now. Separation, always hateful. But there's a place, that the quiet center that's right here, right now, that to bring ourselves back and not to engage in this dream is imperative for my spiritual growth. Because everything I judge is about this mind, nobody else's. So, an ancient script of specialness, which is still present to us as a classroom of forgiveness with a new teacher. The presence of Jesus in our minds guarantees that when we choose, we will learn the lessons his classroom offers. We will learn the lessons his classroom offers. Please note that Jesus does not send us lessons, nor is he the author of our script. He is its correction, without whom forgiving our specialness is impossible. This is not something we can do on our own. So here, I want to read this again. Please note that Jesus does not send us lessons, nor is he the author of our script. He is correction. So I don't know, like the way I see that one is that it's up to us to give it to either, whatever you call the higher self. Give it over, because we are powerless as bodies. We are. And that requires acceptance. So he says, that is why it's important to pay careful attention to our world, personal and collective, for these are our classrooms. Remember, paying attention means recognizing the world as a miserable and painful place, since it is not our home, and happiness is found only when we are home with God. Not being with him, by definition, means we will not be happy. And this is a whole different kind of happiness. This is happiness of wholeness. This is happiness of all is well, right? So recognizing our unhappiness impels us to cry out for help. There must be another way and another teacher within our minds who can utilize this classroom, not to punish or imprison, but to release. To summarize, when Jesus says we have everything we need to reach the goal of truth, he is speaking of the classroom of our lives, along with its teacher of forgiveness. And it goes on, and it's a really good teaching, because what he does in his lessons, Ken, is he reiterates this over and over for us to finally say, this is enough. Spirit, take this. Marcy, it's you now. Okay, go ahead.
I'm still stuck on when you said,
What?
So I'm just thinking, I don't know why I don't have, I'm going to have strong reactions at some point. I just know it, but I don't have them right now. And I'm amazed that I'm still sleeping pretty well. But the that's the classroom, isn't it?
Anything that happens to the body is the classroom, but it's the mind. We're not bodies, we're mind.
Right. But
so when I bring ourselves, the most important thing is to realize that we are mind, and that's where the decision maker can make the choice.
Right. But when you're saying, and I do that, I have that same reaction about showing my artwork, that
Right.
just don't go in there, because you're going to start feeling all those weird things like, I can't separate from my artwork, or I can't stand to see politics. I can't stand what's happening. And that's the part, I think, that we're invited to go into. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. And just be with it, realizing that we are looking at our concepts in our mind. It's all conceptual.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching the television, I'm looking at these images that my mind, as the universal mind, actually put all this in. And to take responsibility is to really make the ego calmer. in the end. Because as you keep taking responsibility, I think the ego goes into the surrender mode, which is, it doesn't even know that we aren't people. It believes we are. Because it's been set up as a program, like everything else on the planet. So, Martha, do you have another question?
Not right now.
I think the dove is in the room. Wait a minute. Okay. I think he is. Oh, you have to put your hand down. Yeah, Dove's here. Okay, so, it's important for me to realize that I need do nothing. I really need do nothing. And one of the things that I remember you sharing, Dove, is but not interfere, right? Just don't interfere. Trying to keep a character safe is an oxymoron because it's really a script. But habits are habits. So there's somebody that asked Ken a question in Healing the Unhealed Self. And it's Awakening as One, it's called. Did it really just happen that when Jesus became enlightened, we all became enlightened? But because of the illusory setup of time, we do not know it yet? Would that be one way of saying it? This is Ken's answer. It is not so much that when he became enlightened, he dragged us all with him, implying we did not want to go. It is rather that when he became enlightened, he knew there was no separation, and therefore we were with him when he arose. See, there's no Jesus either. This is all just essence. Essence turned into people. It turned into animals. It turned into stones. It turned into lights. It turned into every object. But it's all made of the same consciousness. But the essence of who we are is what's really working through every one of us right now. And we're in this together. We are not in this solo. So waking up is kind of like an oxymoron in the sense that we are in a unit. We have a mind, a universal mind, which means it's total unity. Everyone is connected to us on a deep level. Everyone. So, of course, we were with Jesus. And so it is not that he took us with him. He simply showed that we are already there. In other words, by one person showing that there is no ego, the ego is disapproved. This means that everyone's existence predicated on the ego thought system of separation is shown to be inherently unreal. And wanting it to be real is kind of like, well, it's built from fear. It's a jail because I want it to be real, so I won't have, everything. I'll have absolutely nothing. Because that's all that's here is this no thingness, So it says, again, we cannot understand what this course is teaching from the world's point of view, but only when we read it as a mind. And that is the most important part of these teachings. We are mind. We are not bodies. We are mind. The body is a projection from the mind that we, as the Son of God, are projecting. But they're all meaningless. Here's another question he has. And Martha, I'm on page 82 if you wanted to get your book and read. Okay, in the question, in the context of not doing anything out of guilt, can you say something about the passage that says that if your brother asks you for something outrageous, you should do it? So I want to hear what he has to say. Some 100 pages later, Jesus returns to that passage, forgetting he used the word outrageous, and now uses the word foolish. I have said that if a brother asks a foolish thing of you, to do it, but he's certain that this does not mean to do a foolish thing that would hurt either him or you. So those are the questions. Other than that, your brother is really you, and when you don't want to do what they want to do, it just breaks the flow. It does. It breaks the flow. So let's see what else he said. Jesus did not mean that you should do something out of guilt, because that is harmful to you and harmful to the other person. The idea is that when someone asks you something outrageous and you experience yourself in quick opposition, I'm not going to do such a silly thing, you need to realize that this quick opposition comes from the ego. See, the point is, the ego is always the one that's talking. Ego is always, I mean, yes, spirit might give a couple of words. It's a higher vibrational, thought system. The Holy Spirit's thought system is higher. And then the silence is the highest. So would anyone like to share? Well, don't all say it at once.
Just really quickly, I've already forgotten what lesson you're reading from.
That's okay. The lesson is I will accept God's plan for salvation.
I just need the number so I can get the book.
Oh, no, I'm looking at this book now, The Unhealed Mind.
Oh, you are okay. All righty.
You know what? It's like I'm just going by the prompts inside, and if I get one,
Okay, I think I have it, so I'll go look.
well, yeah. Well, maybe you could take some of the. Yeah, we could share the reading.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Oh, this lesson is 90. Yeah, you were looking for 98. Tomorrow will be 99, right? So it says, when we oppose anything, we are back into the force of the ego, where it's pushing against something and saying, I don't want thus, right? The right mind does not oppose anything. It may not be everything people ask, but it does not oppose. Saying no would always be kind and gentle, even if its form is firmness. Quick opposition is never gentle. Thus, when you find yourself quickly opposing something, I am not going to do that. The first thing to do is go with it. And that really is the guidance right now. Any time that we have to ask a question, it comes from within. It's not someone out there that can really help us other than a hunch of what we might need. So your mind has chosen to see itself as separate from someone, and you are now accentuating that separateness by saying, I won't do it. This will inevitably bring guilt because you are making separation real all over again. Before you respond to the other person, you first want to change your wrong-minded response. Once the ego is out of the way, you will do or not do what the person asks, but you will be loving. And that's the most important part. Where have I fallen short? Well, today I'm doing pretty good, but there's days that I fall short. Look at that. Looking at that, it's so helpful because nobody really wants this. Our minds are just so enamored by the world. It just believes that we need this. So what it's saying is, a common confusion among students is to think of gentleness as wishy-washy or firmness as an attack. When we are right-minded, we are firm about doing or not doing something because it is the kind thing to do. This is similar to a parent being firm with a child because the child is about to do something that will be harmful to itself. You can be gentle, loving, and still. Firm as you say, no, I am sorry, but you cannot do this. So that's like the way of saying it. Or you could be firm and have the seeming strength of raising your voice and exclaiming, no, you cannot do this. And if you do it, I will punish you. Now, what sounds better? Jesus models gentle firmness in his course when he does not go along with our illusions. I will love you and honor you and maintain complete respect for what you have made, but I will not uphold it unless it is true. The clarity of his teaching is always kind and respectful. Okay. Mars, do you have the book? Okay, you can't find it.
I have this. I only have this. Oh, I don't have the book you're reading from. That's the one book I have in the
Okay, you know what, then we can start, yeah, because if you could take, I didn't tell Lynn, I have a UTI
Yeah.
section, Lynn, so I'm getting tired. So I'm going to turn it to Marcy for a couple minutes and then come back. And listen to you, Marcy. I'll be right here.
Just tell me where you left off in the book.
Okay, in the book?
In the workbook.
Yeah, okay. Okay. It's on not one mistake stands. It's on page 46 and it's in dark bold letters. Not one mistake stands in our way. Okay. So go to 40.
I'm there. Okay, I'm there. Sorry, it takes me a long
No,
time.
that's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay, not one mistake stands in our way, for we have been absolved from errors. All our sins are washed away by realizing they were but mistakes. Yet we cannot realize our sins were mistakes until we first recognize we have called them sins established by our guilt. Only by understanding that guilt follows the use of everything, everyone and everything as a substitute for love of God, the love of God, will we be motivated to ask for help in seeing our sin as merely the end product of a mistaken thought, which we can change with Jesus's help. Jesus now turns to our guiltlessness, the state opposite to sin. He refers to those who have chosen the holy instant as their reality within the dream, and so are in the real world. Anybody want to add anything, or I should go on? I shall go on. The
Go
guiltless,
on.
the guiltless have no fear, for they are safe and recognize their safety. The reason the guilty have fear, that guilt demands punishment, and therefore will always fear the punishment we believe is forthcoming. However, if there is no guilt, there can be no projection, which means we will no longer believe the sinner is outside, poised to attack us. Therefore, there is no fear, and we are free to recognize our safety. So in my mind, in the mind, whatever, I accept that to the degree that I can, that to the degree that's possible, because it's almost like I read it and then I'm like, well, wait a minute, because I have this past issue and it's not even, nothing is happening right now. But I hear the ego going, wait a second, don't forget this. They do not appeal to magic, nor invent escapes from fancied treats without reality. They rest in quiet certainty that they will do what is given them to do. They do not doubt their own ability because they know their function will be filled completely in the perfect time and place. They took to stand, which will take we will take today. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation, that we may share their certainty and thus increase it by accepting it ourselves, which takes the ego getting out of the way. Sorry about the phone. Let me move that a little bit. Those should keep going. No questions, no comments. Okay, because I can't see the screen, so somebody just let me know. Those who are guiltless have accepted the atonement for themselves and have no need to seek for substitutes for the love of God, for they realize they are the love. Jesus uses magic here to denote our special substitute. The quiet certainty of the guiltless embraces the loving thoughts in the mind of the sonship, the strength of which is always present in our minds, regardless of the symbol with which we choose to identify it, awaiting our decision to embrace it, the decision to accept that loving presence and its fruits of forgiveness comes only when we let go of the investment in being right and special. So one of the things I'm noticing this week was I was in physical therapy to help me with lots of things with my brain. So I managed to get very, very dizzy in there. And I'm finding today I'm very, very dizzy, and I have not done the exercises, and I decided I would only do them at night if I want to try them, because on Thursday when I had it, then on Friday I was not functional in terms of going out and doing things with my friends because I was dizzy and queasy and all that stuff. But that's just my story right now. My story is an injury that caused this problem, and so I'm struggling with that and accepting like even being tolerant of that physical feeling of being dizzy or queasy or whatever is really hard to adjust to. And that's also the ego saying, oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. So
Yeah, we always hear that little voice, don't we?
yeah, and it's all ego, and I know it. But I don't know why I'm dizzy today, because I didn't do anything yesterday that should make me dizzy. So very weird. Should I keep going?
Yeah, if you will. Yeah.
Sure. And sorry if I'm missing words, they're just like I'm not seeing them. So I might not be quoting exactly. They will be with us. All who took the stand we took today will gladly offer us all that they learned and every gain they made. Those still uncertain too will join us, and borrowing our certainty will make it stronger still. While those as yet unborn will hear the call we heard and answer it when they have come to make their choice again. We do not choose but for ourselves today. This reflects the important theme of the sonship's unity, found not only in heaven as Christ, but in the fragmented world of billions and billions of separate parts. This crucial idea can never be understood from the point of view individuality, separation, and differences. From this perspective, my being saved does not mean you are saved or you're being damned that I am damned. The truth, however, is that as one son, we are saved and damned together. Therefore, what I see in you can only be what I see in myself. If I seek to crucify you to escape my guilt, I am crucified as well. It can be, but myself I crucify. A later lesson tells us, on the other hand, and then there's a quote for the location of that. On the other hand, if I see you as absolved from sin because you are not responsible for my loss of peace, I am absolving myself as well. Keep in mind that this unity transcends the seeming limitations of time and space. Thus, this oneness extends throughout what we consider to be the history of the cosmos, a history that spans many billions of years and an almost infinite number of miles. This paragraph, incidentally, is one of many passages in A Course in Miracles that strongly suggest reincarnation. Jesus specifically addresses the subject in the Manual for Teachers, where he states that belief in it is irrelevant to one's learning his curriculum of forgiveness. It is certain, however, that the way to salvation can be found by those who believe in reincarnation and by those who do not. The idea cannot therefore be regarded as essential to the curriculum. For our purposes, it would not be helpful to take any definite stand on reincarnation. Jesus' statement makes perfect sense when one considers that a single or many bodily lives make no difference. An illusion remains an illusion. There is no life outside of heaven. Salvation can be accepted in the only part of time that reflects reality, the holy instant. Are you ready to read again, Sharon? Because I'm like a little dizzy.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm sorry.
But I'll close the book for a little bit and I'll listen and then.
All right, where'd you stop? Because I was listening, but I don't know what
Oh,
page.
I'm on page 47.
Yeah.
Left side, the top quote from Ken, which has a 5 in parentheses. It is not worth 5 minutes of your.
Okay. All right. It is not worth 5 minutes of your time each hour to be. Is it not worth 5 minutes of your time each hour to be able to accept the happiness that God has given you? It is. Is it not worth 5 minutes hourly to recognize your special function here? Is not 5 minutes but a small request to make in terms of gaining a reward so great it has no measure? You have made 1,000 losing bargains at the least. He's just telling us our function is to wake up to who we are, because there's nothing here. It's just God. What this is like a tiny mad idea that we had, and it became the Big Bang, and we are living it. We are living that tiny, mad idea, and we are living it because when the Big Bang happened, it blew out this thing, and now we're reviewing it through spirit, but we were never really people because we were dreaming. We were always dreaming. So there really is nobody that comes into a world as a person, into God's world as a person. Because in God, it's all God. Okay, Lynn, it's over to you.
Yeah, let me fix this mic on Pal Talk so people can hear me. So this is real interesting. What Marcy was just reading about Ken talking about the idea of reincarnation and how this passage or this lesson it kind of refers to the fact that reincarnation is real. What I think what we don't really see so easily is that we're not living a series of life and death and life and death and life and death, because we never actually die. We just go into another dream or another part of the illusion. The illusion itself it contains all the stories. Every story that could ever be, if it would be possible for me to be apart or separate from God, every story that could ever be is in that illusion. So the story where I was a washerwoman in the 1600s, or the story when I was Joan of Arc, or the story when I was Mary Magdalene or Thomas, or all those stories, it's not my story, it is just the story. And we our consciousness just goes and focuses, just like if we were in the library looking at books, and you could go to get a book on horticulture, or you could go and get a book on medieval times, or you could get whatever book you want, and you can read that book and get absorbed in that book. But then you can always put the book back on the shelf and go and get another book, because that's what it is. It's just a huge library that's full of every story that could be. So it's really simple then to see that because there's no death, there's no exit. We don't, we're still in the theater. They think you died, but you're still in the theater. You're just going to the next movie in the next theater, or you haven't really left the theater, and you won't leave the library until you recognize that none of those stories have any real meaning. They're just stories. So the idea that with just taking, as he says, it's not worth 5 minutes of your time every day, each hour to remember that I'm in the theater. Just 5 minutes of each hour to remember that, oh, I'm not on the screen. I'm not in the book. I'm not in the story. I'm just right here where I have always been just watching this thing happening. And it's just there is no individual self. There is one ego and there is one spirit, and that one ego is the thing we think are billions of individual selves out there going through billions of lives. He says that um, uh, the history of the cosmos, billions of years and infinite numbers of miles, that's what we think is happening here, but it really is not. It's just me here, just looking at all these stories and deciding which of the stories I want to identify with. And if I want to identify with the story, then I'm going to just stay there until the story's finished. And if I want more stories, I'm just going to get another book, and as long as I want stories, they'll be here. But I don't have to be in the story. I can actually step out of the story any second, any moment. In any moment, I can just step out of the story and recognize that uh, there is no story. That none of it has any meaning at all. It's just an imaginary thing in my mind, and I can go home. So, um, I'm loving that, reading this, uh, and I'm um, thinking about something that Marcy said before or when she was reading too, about being dizzy. I don't know if you know this. I haven't really talked about this, and I don't know if anybody actually is aware of this. But I had let's see. Oh, Carrie can't get the audio. He should just come into Zoom. I'm gonna tell him that. Uh, so anyway, uh, when I had a was I was given a drug, antibiotic that destroyed my eighth cranial nerve. It's you have 12 cranial nerves, and they all have to do with your senses, how you see, hear, feel. All the senses are in the cranial nerves, and my eighth cranial nerve was destroyed, which means that I have no sense of balance. It took away my entire sense of balance. Um, it took away the way that I perceive things when like I can't focus if my head is moving. It did something to my vision. It really did some crazy things. And so uh, when it first started happening, when it was first occurring, I was dizzy, dizzy, dizzy. Um, but then the dizziness went away, and I have not been dizzy since. It's impossible to be dizzy if your eighth cranial nerve is not working. Um, but the reason I'm saying that uh, is I was just prompted to when you were talking about being dizzy, that uh, it's a function of the physical body, but I think it really has something to do too with our spiritual uh, sense of self. Because when you even say it, a dizzy blonde, or, a dizzy, 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 it's like a something that you say when you think someone is not all there, or that someone doesn't have the good mental capacity. And so, it's symbolic. There's a symbol to it. And you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, what does being dizzy symbolize to me? And like I said, I haven't been dizzy since, but I will fall down too. I fall down all the time. Uh, Marcy, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, for people that if a new person happens to come along and see the video, 5 minutes feels like a really long time. in the beginning, you know, or like in the moment that I'm dizzy, I'm like, yes, I understand. Yeah, I can hear what's being said to me through the books and through conversation. And I still observe the ego struggling to have a voice. It's like, let me in, let me in. You know? So, and I think if the fear gets triggered because the last time I got dizzy, the next thing I knew, I went down to lay down, and then I was in the hospital for a day, part of the day. So, um, so that's just body stuff, but it's sometimes very compelling. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
it's very compelling because you can't do anything the way um, that you would normally do it. I mean, it completely shifts everything that you do and how you do it. Uh,
Right.
for me, it did anyway. So, anyway, oh gosh, it's about the end of our time here.
Yeah, it's all right. Now, thanks for sharing that, Lynn. Um, some people say that there could be another Lynn in another, time, the timeline. Like we could be projecting ourselves in another part of history or something, right? Does that make any sense to you,
Oh,
Lynn?
I think it's not just I think we're in every part of history. We're
Yes,
everywhere.
we don't even know. One of the best lessons is I really don't know what anything is for.
Yeah.
To remain like, Adi Ashante said a long time ago, I want to be the dumbest person being on earth. And what did he mean? You're silent. So there
Oh,
you go. So now we're going to do Bill Thetford, and I'm going to go because I'm not feeling great. I don't know if you heard me say I have a UTI.
I did hear you say that.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
going
I'm
to
sorry
go.
to hear that.
Well,